tonight, so that's an actual major bonus for Colorado. Typically it comes in waves, doesn't it? We get hail one night, this seems to hang around for a while. So I like to tell everyone it's always sunny and always beautiful in Parker. We are the center of the universe, so you're experiencing that tonight with us. But on behalf of Town Council, I just realized I forgot to introduce who I was. I'm not some strange bald guy who decided to jump up here real quick. My name is Mike, and I have the honor and privilege of being the mayor of Parker. So I would like to welcome you all here tonight. It's a very exciting time to be in Parker right now. We're at a point in our growth phase. We're no longer adolescents. We're looking at what we're going to be as we transition from teens to young adults. And we're here tonight to look at opportunities and discuss what the future of Parker will look like as we go through those formative years. It's an exciting time to plan for the development of what we will have in our hometown, what we will be for the next 10, 15, and 20 years. So on behalf of your town council, I would like to welcome you all here tonight. I'm going to introduce one of my favorite guys. Jason Rogers is going to come on up and he's going to lead us through the presentation tonight. Don't let him fool you, he's actually 5'10".
I'd actually like to say 5'24".
5'24". Jason.
But just want to briefly introduce myself. I'm Jason Rogers. I'm the director of Parker Authority for Investment. And I just want to take a quick moment, like our mayor here, and want to thank the residents who are here today in the audience through very rigorous planning efforts. As to what we will also have after this presentation is a brief Q&A for those on Facebook Live, where you can put comments in that we will read to the developer, being able to provide you an answer, but also here in the crowd as well. But I really want to kind of touch on some key things, just being able to set a bar about why we are here today. And part of that is, what is PAR's mission? PAR's mission is dedicated to enhancing downtown Parker. Another way to be able to put it is that we want to put Parker at a competitive advantage on how to look at redevelopment, new development that affords the opportunities for various amenities that are used by our residents, by our visitors, but also by those who work here in the town of Parker. We say what and why did we go out for a master developer as part of an RFQ? Reasons really being is that we wanted to expand and strengthen downtown. We wanted to contribute to a sense of place and support downtown Parker as a destination is all that we keep for. And we wanted to be able to promote high quality development. Now, the RFQ and the process that we went out to was to be able to solicit and secure a partner, not a project. And a partner really allows for us to have an integrated sense for an approach that ensures a transparent process that benefits the community, benefits the town, but also benefits the developer. Find a firm that is capable of fulfilling our vision that we have for downtown as a community, and one that is very in a collaborative process. Provide multiple opportunities for public participation. Once again, this is about a partner working through the process to get into what is that product, that vision, that development that we all can cherish and believe and have a legacy in. Thoughtful community feedback gathered through, once again, an open process, consistency in vision in new development. Obviously, we've gone about this and where we've had some false starts in the past, and we've heard that from the community. And we took that feedback and presented a holistic approach to where we see a build out of what is the rest of our Main Street. And this is that first step in that, to being able to qualify and see how that can be done. Being able to build and finance sustainable development that will last over years, ones that we can take pride in. I think without a master developer, and what we've come to also learn is that it limits our ability once again to be competitive in an environment to where we want to be able to provide those different opportunities for Parker. Projects aren't completed as quickly as that we would like, that we can all be able to invest and be able to use, and plans that aren't likely to come to fruition. Once again, we want to be able to have something that we're able to be able to collaboratively work through, cherish, and actually see come out of the ground, and then being able to actually interplay with. So with that, I'm going to transition the presentation over to our potential master developer partner, and for allow them to help us qualify how they can partner with our community and partner with us to being able to make the vision come to reality. Chris?
Thank you. So 5'22", which It's one of the few people I actually have to come to because of my experience. I'm 6'3". I don't think I need the microphone. My name is Chris Waggett. I'm the CEO of E4 Urban, and you naturally think that a funny voice doesn't come from here. So, my background. I was born and raised in the United Kingdom, educated there. Dad was in the British Army, so I lived in Hong Kong and Germany and interacted with US service personnel in Germany, which was pretty good. We used to go to buy, for those of us old enough, Levi 501s, 45 records, and Scarman. It was pretty novel to young English school children. My career has taken me from London in the last recession before the one we had in 2008, which was very scary. But in 1989-90, the S&L crisis in the United States, I got transferred to Brussels, to Europe, and worked in the challenges of cross-borders working in continental Europe, particularly when the projects went wrong. And what it seared into my mind was good projects have fundamental principles that underpin them, and then they endure through time, because change is the one thing that's going to hit all of us. We then had the opportunity of working in Sydney, Australia, where my 3 children were born. We were there for a dozen years until I got tapped on the shoulder with my former employer to move to the United States, which we were really excited about, Denver, Colorado. And so we moved, and I'd like to say it was perfectly the wrong time. So it was perfect because it was the US and it was Denver, and what isn't there to like about that? The wrong time because the fall of '06 was the kind of the eve before the storm of the meltdown in the financial markets, which I don't know what go through again. It was a devastating time, as all of us know. So 26 years of corporate life. So I describe myself as an Anglo-Aussie with an American twist, which makes me a cocktail. And I think anybody who's going to be survive the last 10 years and navigate the challenges of the past and the future, cocktails, good things, whatever flavor they are. So what we want to sort of talk about is an approach, really, I guess, and the philosophy that we bring. So I'm always conscious, I'm always nervous when there are boards up here and people immediately gravitate to the board because they think that's a solution. It isn't. What sits behind that is an approach, and what sits behind that is a philosophy. So moving to Denver in the fall of '06, we found a home and moved to Douglas County, and we were in Castle Pines. Principally because Douglas County happens to do special ed really well, and my eldest son has special needs, and so Douglas County was unbelievably progressive in the integration of kids with special needs. So George went to Rock Canyon High School, graduated as his senior of the year, JAG of the year, and we're pretty proud of the fact that in August he's going to start at Anschutz Children's Hospital on a program that started in Cincinnati a number of years back to see if he can be trained to work within the hospital system to have a career and fulfill a life in that world. So we owe an enormous amount to Douglas County high school system and what they've provided. My other 2 children, Thomas is 15, going on 25, learning to drive. Anybody who's got a child learning to drive, you know how exciting that is. It makes for a very, very active 7 to 7:30 commute to his school. He's doing really well. And then Emma, our daughter, is 13. She's at American Academy over in Castle Pines, Lego Road, and we have a sister campus over here, which is pretty good. We used to come to the Pace Center because the children all enjoyed performing arts, and we love the theater and any form of art. So we were always here, and the children always used to complain to us when we had a show that there was nowhere to go. There was a hike to get to the restaurants on Main Street and everything else, and so conversations used to happen in the car driving home. Why did you develop that, Ian? Why don't you do something? So I kind of had this fascination, and I've always liked the idea, particularly now I'm in corporate life, of choosing where to develop and being aligned with people. Because at the end of the day, I think alignment and having a shared set of values is key. So I watched Parker do what we've done. I've watched other communities through the front range do different approaches to development, and I truly think what you're doing as a council, as a staff, and then ultimately as a community, you embrace it. We can only do what you enable us to do, and that means with really good engagement. So the four people I'm part of on the stage today, but we have other members of the team here, are really representing a common set of values and thinking about how good development occurs. And that starts with first of all recognizing that what you believe, the community you want to develop it in believes. Because I do think the old days of top-down solutions are over. Nowadays it's much more about, yes, top-down management processes, but you've got to have the community informing what I call the development brief and what actually the community wants to see. And so we think that what Parker represents is great bones in its town centre, but the great opportunity to strengthen and sort of amplify that to be the heart of the community, all the aspirations that were in the RFQ document. What we're trying to do is kind of fuse together consultants who have either worked in the town already, so whether it's Vanessa's firm on the traffic transportation and that hot button issue of we've got to do with cars, they any designer's life, but they're necessary, of course. But then we also have architects and engineers, again, who are in the room. Anderson Mason Dale did the Town Hall, Discovery Park. Our project manager as well, over 10 years, has done 6 capital works projects for you. Martin has done other civil work, and there are civil engineers that have to do some of the challenges that Pine Cove in particular has because of drainage issues. Laura is a very, I would say, forward-thinking executive from the development world previously, now working in brokerage, but really helping us to think about what makes great places. Going back to the previous slide here, and Chris Shear, sorry, in the top corner there, has been doing work for D4 in other places, particularly grocery-anchored retail work, mixed-use work. So certain of our team members have already worked in Parker, so we would say have a familiarity. They certainly don't have all the answers, but I think they know a lot of the questions and have an approach to consulting. Elliot has been our land planner on our Denver project, Denver Design District, and came up with an inspired vision, which has really got all of our architects behind that vision. And then for my sins, I came across, I got introduced to an organization called Transit Alliance. And Kathleen is the executive director. I ended up going through the course, and she's going to talk about that as part of our critical public engagement, the front end piece of what we are doing. And so Kathleen is going to talk about that front end community engagement piece, because any good project comes from understanding what it is the community wants, having a clear impression of what the town's vision for itself is, what the community's vision for itself is, and then synthesizing that. And what we have to do is distill that into a design brief, which is not easy, which then has to be translated into a built form. And as Jason said, long-term projects have to flex through time and through cycles, economic cycles, demand cycles. But if we get the principles right, if we get good public engagement, and I really cannot thank you all enough for coming out this evening, and anybody else, hopefully lots more people watching on Facebook Live, that we can then get and derive better input so we can get a better output. I'm the first to say it, I'm a developer, and so at the end of the day, I value time, and I am very concerned about money. Unsurprisingly. But I'm also a great believer in sustainable development, and sustainability is a word I actually hate, because I think it's become so kind of misused. And when I represented an Australian public company that came to the United States, the great thing I was able to say to people was sustainability when I was growing up in England, in the country, was common sense. You didn't waste resources, you use things wisely, and what's today called corporate bottom line or corporate social responsibility is actually looking after your community, managing and looking out for your neighbour, and making sure that you shop local, and that was a good thing. And so in Australia, I was a founding member of the Green Building Council, which was a public-private partnership that brought the US lead standard, leadership environmental engineering design, merged it with the British standard, which is green and a much longer-winded term, but essentially the way we measure the performance of buildings. But at the end of the day, what sustainability means in my mind is common sense and enduring, timeless design that can change through time, that can accommodate shifts that occur in cycles in the way we use buildings. And I think we can see that successful buildings in the past are able to be adaptively reused in the future. So what we're seeking to do is, we don't have the answers, we have an approach. We think we've assembled a team of experts that knows the town from past work, or at least knows some of the critical factors that are going to make it a success. So what we've done, so I'm rambling a little bit, but we've done public-private partnerships. So we did a very complex piece of infrastructure, stormwater infrastructure, for the City County of Denver, the Denver and New York Authority. We had to put a capital stack together that was an existing TIF, but it facilitated a big box retail centre at Alameda and Broadway. And then we put additional financing over the top of that, and we had to manage the community as we built triple box on the western side of the railway tracks, but on the eastern side we were placing 12-foot wide, 10-foot tall box culverts over 4,000 linear feet to an active shopping centre down Broadway and out into Wash Park to drain 1,900 acres. And we did that project in order to facilitate our apartment building, which many of you may have seen, where I-25 and Santa Fe merges, the first LEED Platinum apartment building, which essentially means we think we are trying to have a resilient project. It's on transit, it's near to amenities, and adjacent to light rail. So to facilitate that. On the other side of the tracks, we're about to break ground middle of the year on an auto dealership, relocated dealership in Colorado. So we have an array of projects. I've done many different types of projects, and I don't want to necessarily go through all those now, but what I wanted to say to you is that the elements that you see here, commercial development for a user, residential development forms, and public infrastructure which enables development are all the things that we do. I can't do that with an awesome design team. And a design team can only respond if it has a great client. In this case, being a public-private partnership, you are essentially the conscience of the public client. So you are all very proud of the town, you should be. You want to strengthen your town and the incredible civic assets that have been invested in, which this is one. We want to strengthen and extend the classic old part of Main Street Park and take it to incorporate this amazing facility. But how much better could this be if we had an engaging form of development that made this more than a couple of days a week, maybe a peak through the year or through the month or the year? What if we could make this a 24/7, 365 kind of destination? If that's what the community wants and what the thought should be. And then we terminate ultimately past Site 3, which is next to Discovery Park, which our architect Alison Mason Dale did for you. We would terminate at the most complicated piece of this puzzle, which is Pine Curve. It's got technical challenges, it's got market challenges, and obviously it's got the adjacencies of residential, which we need to be extremely conscious of. So what you see, what you'll hear from me is an approach, a philosophy to development. I hope and think that though the accent is different, if you sat or stood and talked with other members of our team, you'd hear a very consistent approach. And that's because we work together, or because we happen to sort of believe in a lot of the same views, but approaches. So I think with that, I think as I was talking about the street, I think what we're trying to do is strengthen what we've already got and extend it, and ultimately make it the heart of the community that we like. So I'm going to hand over now to Kathleen and Vanessa, who are going to talk about our public engagement strategy, and then at the end of our formal piece of presentation, Elliot will talk to you a little bit about the diagrams and what that means and put it together. but hopefully I've given you a sense of who we are and what we want to achieve through this process. Thank you very much.
So, good evening, and please let me know, I tend to talk a little quieter, so if you can't hear me in the back, feel free to raise your hand. My name is Vanessa Soulsby, and I'm representing a firm, Kinley Thorne and Associates. We've had the honor and the pleasure of working with the town over the past year on the parking and access plan for downtown, which is just moving to completion. And while our firm does a lot of civil engineering, traffic, parking, transportation, landscape architecture work, my real focus and passion is public outreach, because I believe that any planning effort we do or undertake has to be grounded in the aspiration, vision of the community. And something that I'm very passionate about is creating livable, wonderful places. And I'm guessing that's why many of you are here tonight. It's because you love your community, because you're curious about what development might look like in the future, and how what we're talking about might impact you, your residences, your businesses. And that's something that we take extremely personally and we take to heart. We view ourselves as your trusted advisor, your technical advisor. We're here to help guide you through a process as you begin to think about what the community looks like today, what it could look like in the future. But it's also really important before we go there to honor where you've come from and your history and the beautiful places that you've already created. And so as several of our team members talk this evening, you're going to hear a little bit more about our philosophy and our approach. But the first thing, if we're selected and we're fortunate enough to work with the town, would be to design and implement a very robust and rigorous stakeholder process. And what that means is bringing the community together, all of you in this room, folks that are joining us on Facebook Live, to have a conversation about the vision that you've spent a lot of time creating for your town today, but also where you want to go in the future. And I think this is a really critical component and will help us better understand how we can serve the community. And my colleague Kathleen is going to talk a little bit more about specific tools that we would propose to use. But I think at the end of the day, the biggest piece is that we need to, through our actions, through the process we set up, through starting this conversation with you, before we even know if we're given the job, it's up to us to earn your trust. And we take that very personally. We know that's a big responsibility because we're going to be helping you take your vision of the community to the future and also honor your past. And so I think that above everything else, we have to start there. We have to start with you. And I know that many of you in this room have probably been to a lot of meetings. You've heard a lot of consultants talk. But I can tell you that the team that Chris and E4 have assembled, some of us have been working here for a year, some of us have been working here for a decade. And I feel like being with the town as an advisor to staff, an advisor to the community, is something very important to us. And so I hope that as we move through the conversation tonight, that you will ask us questions, let us know where your concerns are. We want to hear why you're here. We want to hear what your hopes and your visions are. But we also really want to define a very unique way of bringing the community together. For us, outreach is not just lip service. This is something that we need to do because it's going to help us continue our relationship with the town and with you. And so we're looking at more than just, we'll have a meeting or we'll put up a survey. This is so much more than that. And Kathleen's going to talk about a really unique strategy that we're proposing to bring you in and educate you to development processes, but also have you educate us. Because we are going to be working, hopefully, as an extension of you, as community members, of your town staff. And so, in order for us to do that successfully, for everyone involved, we have to listen to you first. And so, I just wanted to say from Kinley Thorne and from our team, thank you for inviting us here to talk to you this evening. We really do appreciate it, and I know that you're going to get to know us a little bit, but we will stick around. We'd love to hear from you. We want to talk to you. will do a little homework assignment for us, which is if you leave tonight, or if you're at home tonight listening in, you're going to tell your neighbors about what's happening, because we need to have 10 times as many people in this room driving this vision forward, because we can help, we can facilitate, we can provide our best professional opinion, but it's up to this community to really embody the vision going forward. And so I think for this to be a valuable process for everyone, we need your help to get the word out about what we'd love to do as a partner with the town. So thank you for inviting us, and I'm going to turn it over to Kathleen to talk to you a little bit about the specific tools that we'd like to use to engage with the community.
Okay, so I'll talk loud. Good evening. My name is Kathleen Osher. I want to echo Vanessa's thanks to all of you for being here. I'm the executive director of a regional 501c3 nonprofit. We have kind of an odd name, Trans Alliance. But the reason I'm here tonight is because I'm the creator of a nationally unique program called our Citizens Academy. We started about 10 years ago. We have a regional conversation about a lot of things that are happening here and how citizens can get more involved. And in the region now, we have almost 900 graduates of the program. We've seen them go on to play very important leadership roles for our cities and towns around the Denver metro region. In addition, we've had the opportunity to work in some other places too. We're working in the San Luis Valley currently, and then up in the northwest part of Colorado. So it's interesting to take a conversation, oftentimes that's about community building and transportation and all of the key ingredients that you need to really take that and have that conversation in multiple different sort of arenas. So what we created with the Citizens Academy 10 years ago was a 7-week program to really kind of unpack some of the things that were happening in the region and some of the changes that were happening, and really give an opportunity for people to get out of this mode of either being for or against, but really having a dialogue and getting more people involved in that conversation. Because I think what's important for us is to, as citizens, I mean, we call it a Citizens Academy for that very reason. You can't just reside somewhere. To really be a citizen and play a leadership role is one of the most important things that we do for our community, for our neighborhoods. And so we're evidence of that, of course, this evening being here, and for anyone that's joining us on Facebook Live. So this 7-week program that we created really starts to look at some of the opportunities to learn, but also the opportunities to get involved. And so as much as we think about sort of the education, where some of the gaps are for our citizens, we also think about that idea of empowering them to be part of the process. What makes our program so unique is that everyone that goes through commits to an individual action plan. So we help them think through a project that they can take on and a role that they can play in their communities. And so we found that as a very powerful tool to getting people involved and invested in how things are moving forward in our cities and towns here in the region and beyond. And so with that idea, I really want to emphasize and echo many of the things that Vanessa said. We come at this as a nonprofit. It's funny because we have almost 900 graduates. There's some incredible people in the region. One of our graduates called and said, "You're going to need to meet this guy, Chris Waggett." And I was like, "Really?" But I was kind of excited because I'm one of those neighbors to this project and was really interested not only in what was happening with the project, but also vested interest in terms of where I live. So I had the chance to sit down with Chris and talk through where some of the, the challenges that he was facing on his project, but also called on him to say, we could really use your input and part of the dialogue. Come to our Citizens Academy. So he committed to. This is on now. So he committed to the 7-week program and put in the time and developed an individual action plan and really made that commitment, which I commend, because one of the things that's been most interesting, of course, is
when people come with some sort of professional expertise to this 7-week program, it's easy to think like, oh, I got a couple decades and I don't really, I'm not really here to learn anything. But I always applaud those people that actually do come to not only learn from the experience and learn from other people, but really apply that new information. So through that relationship, when D4 expressed an interest in answering this request for qualifications, Chris said to me, what do you think about doing something similar? Like taking this model that's been working in other parts of the state, that's been working here in the metro region. We also have the opportunity to work in a few other communities across the nation. What do you think about putting that and plugging that in and looking at potentially a 4-week Citizens Academy? And I said, I would love to be part of that team. One, because I think what's been so interesting in working alongside Chris, both with his participation in our nonprofit, but also with the D4 team, we are so closely aligned in terms of philosophy and process and approach, and the importance of really getting a lot of that input on the front end to make sure that whatever gets decided along the way is something that really meets the community where it is and really leverages the opportunities for where the community is headed into the future. And so I want to be respectful of our time, and I think I'll turn it over now to Elliot, and I'll look forward to your questions, because this is the boring part, right? Like where we come talk to you. The next part is, of course, where we get to answer some questions and have a conversation here tonight.
So I'd like to speak just for a minute, pick up on something that Chris mentioned. Floating, rotating mics and pick up on something that Chris was saying, which is that we have boards with images on them. But to explain that this was part of a process where our team was invited to come and propose to be a part of this process, to become a partner with the town to develop parcels that are available along Main Street. And so we needed to show how we think and what our tools are that we use to go through that process. But those are not meant to be any kind of decisions, because we can't have decisions until we have a conversation. Our job as designers, and I am standing up here as a land planner and landscape architect, but I am speaking hopefully for a team of architects and engineers and other people that will work together with you to create what this is. But our job is to take the community's vision and move it into a built form. And that's a little tricky, right? You're taking words and you're making them into images and you're making them into buildings and really actually places. What we need to create are places. It's not just buildings, right? So that's a difficult process, and it involves a lot of the kind of engagement that Kathleen and Vanessa were talking about. It takes a canvas of places, of sites that need to be developed. It takes analysis where we have people who can pick apart what exists there and understand things systemically, to understand the forces that are acting, whether it's traffic or parking or stormwater, or just the way that public open space connects and what makes it something that you would want to walk along and it would engage you and excite you. So we pull things apart and then we push them back together into something. Now this is just a picture of a something, but the point here is that we will use our skills in creating images to try to echo what it is that we hear from you. And so to go through that, we have to obviously go through a lot of this community engagement. So our process will be very rigorous and systematic, where we meet on a regular basis with all of you, and hopefully lots more people who come in and people online, where we capture these comments, and then we make drawings, and then we talk about them, and we see whether it makes sense. So we are creating images for built forms, but we also, they have to be economically feasible, right? We don't want to draw things that won't survive in the economy. So we have people on our team that will help us understand, what makes sense from a market sense, what can work. We also need to have them be fiscally responsible. So we are partnering, we're hoping to partner with the town
and the town represents you. And so whatever gets built here needs to survive over the long period. You are fortunate enough to live in a community that's been around for a while. Pine Grove became Parker, and it is a place, and people are coming here because it's a great place, and it will be even greater. But in order to do that, we have to have fiscally responsible decisions about how things are developed in this town. And it can only happen through a partnership working with all of you. So just a few things about why we're excited about this opportunity and working with you. We think that the big idea here is the fact that you have a Main Street that has a very nice, vibrant downtown, but that's pretty small. We did some quick analyses of other Front Range communities that have walkable downtowns, and when we look at that, you will see that your piece of it's very small. It needs to be fuller. It needs to expand that area where you can walk and shop and linger and have public spaces to play in. And so we need to create places, and those need to be walkable places, and they need to be connected, and they need to be safe, and they need to be energized. And so the big idea is that there are multiple sites that the town owns and controls. They could be developed together to create a whole system of places that will work and create, to bring to reality the vision that has been expressed through your Main Street Master Plan, and will also be expressed through the community engagement that would happen through this. So I think that you've done a lot of talking. And we should now, I think, turn it over to a Q&A period.
Wonderful. I wonder if we could have our 4 speakers come and sit at the front of the room, because I'm fast, but not that fast. My name is Kim Newcomer. I'm actually a communications professional. We're helping with this evening and also just trying to facilitate some of the community engagement that this team has talked about, both for this project and beyond. So I think what we'd like to do is just hear from you. We have a couple of options. For those of you who are feeling bold and brave, we are happy to bring the microphone to you if you want to raise your hand and ask a question. If you prefer to write your question on the sheet of paper on your chair, that's fine. We can scurry around the room and pick those up as well. For those watching on Facebook Live, please go ahead and enter your comments online, and we'll make sure to read those to the group as well so that we can all hear what everyone's thinking. With that, do we have any initial questions from the crowd? Good. We're going to see just how fast I can be. Thank you.
According to the newsletter or the talk of the town, we're suffering from the illusion that we came to hear about 4 proposals for 4 sites. And I haven't heard anything about that.
Great question. So I think the question is really, when do we get into the good, meaty, delicious details of what we're proposing for those 4 sites downtown?
So the RFQ presented the opportunity of 4 sites, but the request for qualifications, the RFQ was to come forward with an approach to be the partner with the town. We haven't got definitive answers for the sites. As Elliot said, we at the end of the day translate the feedback we get from the community into a design brief. We have to do market studies, and then we have to present that back in actual proposals. There is not, from our side, this is it, this is what we've baked for you, now taste it and see what you think. This is an approach, it's a team, it's a partnership. What you haven't seen is, we think it's a 6-month program, of which the first month is engaging with you through the academy, through the ongoing community feedback, and from that we'll start to work up the actual physical presentation for the sites and the overall Main Street. Does that help?
So timeline sounds around 6 months for some of those details.
So what I'm hearing is that we're interviewing you as potential partners and not interviewing you as providers of a specific product. Is that correct?
Not that fast, one word answer.
So, yeah, we have to break once. Yes, you're not buying a product in the form of 4 sites. What you're looking to do, what the town is looking to do, and the park is looking to do, is to engage a partner through the public process to work with it to produce the result. And then, at the end of that period, we have to go off as developers do and bring that projects to fruition.
We're gonna shake it up and do one that was written down. So, as part of your public engagement process, do you plan on meeting with the HOAs to get input?
Yes, absolutely. I think that HOAs will be really important. I think that engaging with the neighbors will be also really critical to our success. Something that I think Kathleen and I both found in doing public outreach is that people are very busy, and it needs to be on our shoulders to go out and meet people where they are. We need to go to meetings that you already have planned. We need to identify, I was here last year doing some surveying at your wonderful farmers market, because I knew there'd be people there that would probably want to talk about parking and bicycling. So we need to really take the responsibility to go out and meet you where you are and hear your voices, because we can't rely on you coming to us all the time. So HOAs will be a great avenue for that. In addition to outreach too, there's the communication piece, and I think that's where the Citizens Academy really helps our team extend its reach, because what we want to do is not only listen to you, but also educate you, have you educate us, and then have you go out and share information about this project with your neighbors. Because while we may be working together for several months, your neighbors trust you, you trust your neighbors, and so having those lines of communication open will really help us as well. So absolutely, HOAs, existing groups, we really want to talk to as many people as we can.
Yeah, I would just add, from our perspective, it's been one of the most powerful tools that we've had working everywhere in this metropolitan region, identifying both registered neighborhood organizations and HOAs, and really sitting down and forming a strategic partnership with them that has lasted for more than a decade now. And it's been an incredible tool for us to continue to think about where those gaps are, where people are trying to understand why things are happening the way they are, what the process is, and sort of uncover that and make it more transparent. But it's also been an incredible opportunity for us to give an opportunity for people that are what I like to call emerging leaders, which some of you might be thinking young. No, that's not all of the emerging leaders. What I've always been looking for is an opportunity to find people that are at that transition point in their lives where they really want to start to give back to their communities. And neighborhood organizations and HOAs have been an incredible asset to helping to find those people that want to get more involved.
All right, we have 2 folks, and you guys are close, so I can actually do this one right here.
As a developer, what did you analyze in the town of Parker to make you decide to put in an RFQ? Because you're the only developer here. So what did you see as a vision that you're like, we really want to do this project?
Great question. What sold it for you?
The approach. If it was a one-off site, I wouldn't be interested. At the end of the day, we think that it's the vision of having a 4-side approach that strengthens the town that exists, the main street that exists, and completing that work. And we think it's that comprehensive approach, that partnering approach that's going to make it happen. What we don't want to do is pursue opportunities where we don't have the council and community invested in the outcome.
There's a little bit more. Maybe I can build on that a little bit, but I think from our perspective, we've got several staff members at Kindergarten that live here. Some are newer, some have been living here for a while. It was actually one of our staff members, Kelsey's in the audience, who just moved to Parker, who I think she saw the RFQ before any of us did, and she said, I'm so excited about the new community I live in. What about putting in a bid for this? And I think the excitement is like wildfire through our team. I've enjoyed working here so much because it's a unique place. It's a friendly place. I felt very welcomed by the town staff, and I think there's a lot of opportunity here. This is, I think many of us have the opportunity to work all over Colorado, the Front Range, the U.S., and the world. There's something really special about this community. And I think also it's a huge challenge trying to think about the future and where you want to go and the great places you want to create, but also not do it too quickly so you're not dragging people with you. It's going to be so important that we honor the past, and I can't say that enough. It can't just be the new way of doing it. It has to be where we come from. And I think that we see that opportunity here. And I think we see that the town staff and leadership is really forward thinking. And I think that aligns well with our team because we're here to be creative. We're not here to slap something in the town for development's sake that you guys don't like and that doesn't represent the character of Parker as a welcoming hometown. So I think from my perspective and what I've heard from some of my colleagues and our other team, that's why we're here, because we truly do want to be your partner.
Based on your past experience, I'd like to have your opinion on the percentage split that you envision between office, retail, and food service.
I don't know the answer to that question. Until we do market studies, until we understand what the community wants, I don't want to put percentages on anything. My anticipation is the ground floor will be retail, predominantly retail, restaurant, service type operations, and then quantum of office, the quantum of an amount of residential, that'll be determined by market studies and by the feedback we get from the community. So I don't have a kind of a predicted outcome. That's what I'm actually looking forward to getting into. What we were doing, going back to the other question, is we're asked to present an approach. At the end of the day, what we're in the business of doing is managing cost and time. Okay, we're a for-profit developer, so I want to be successful, but we tended to find that success tends to come from engaged solutions because that shortens time ultimately. And so that's why you want feedback from the community, you want market studies, and then you want to come up with a plan and you can achieve that. And I think the other thing which is a feature today is everybody is concerned about risk, and investors are concerned about risk. And when they see a community that is enlightened in its approach with its elected officials and through its professional staff, the community is involved, then they're starting to say, this is going to be successful because everybody's getting behind that vision. And ultimately that leads to the people who are going to commit to the project and underwrite the rents that we're looking for and the kind of financial performance. But I don't have an answer in terms of the percentages.
Right, so speaking of that community engagement, helping you define those answers, this is a question from Facebook. How does one get involved with the 4-Week Citizens Academy?
I have a really fun email address. It's kosher, K-osher. I have to thank my husband for that one. But it's kosher@transalliance.org. So send me an email. My phone number is 303-919-4334. I'd love to talk with you about it. If this is successful, then I would imagine that we would be looking at the time frame of late summer, early fall, and what we would really hope to do is recruit very robustly, with much to what Vanessa said, really go out in the community, talk about the program, talk about what we've learned over our 10 years of putting it together, and really think about what that looks like in terms of a 4-week program here in the town of Parker. I think one thing that's been really powerful for us is that even though we do this 7-week program, we just are finishing up with our spring Citizens Academy, so it's our 22nd. We have never had a set curriculum. Every single time we kind of reimagine, like, so what do we need to talk about this time? Which costs us money, and nonprofits are hard up for cash, PS, right? But it is, really important for us to think about it as sort of a living, breathing conversation here in the region, and we've really valued when we've had members of the community here in the town go through the program as well, because it's one of the few opportunities I think we as a region have an opportunity to talk about how things are moving forward and what that looks like in a really urban place and what it looks like in a suburban place and what it looks like in a changing place and how people play a role in what that vision becomes.
I would also bet that town staff will put that same contact information online, so if you didn't catch all of those numbers and email addresses, we'll make sure that it's available to everybody if indeed it moves forward. Any other questions in the audience?
What similar projects have you done? And I know you've done the Denizen Apartment, you've done that little pipeline that you need to do. What else could you point to in another suburban area or urban area that you've done, other than the Denver Design District?
And I'm just going to repeat it just in case it didn't come through for the video recording. Asking for some examples of other similar projects.
Other projects that they've done.
Well, from a planning and design perspective, there are a number of projects, certainly in this community. Others worked on Cherry Creek North, redoing all the streetscapes there. So there's an example of a walkable district that creates place. And so we helped, in that particular case, take a place that had, it's changing now, but it certainly, when we were working with it back in 2009, 2010, small shops, in a lot of them independently owned shops, a true community feel, but it was very constrained in terms of people would come and go to one place and they'd leave because there wasn't a place to go. The sidewalks weren't as walkable, they didn't feel as comfortable, and it certainly wasn't, it didn't extend the day, so it would shut down at 5 or 6 o'clock at night, and then, any kind of effort to try to expand what the vitality of that neighborhood was ended. So that, I think, would be a good example within the Front Range of the kind of a place that you could create here, and it was done through lighting, it was done through changing the planting, it was done through how the sidewalks were oriented. We actually rewrote the design guidelines to understand how storefronts and buildings would engage with the street and create a place. So that's an example. There are other communities in California and other states and so forth, but I think that it's the fact that this is a team that's a local team that understands this place that I think is strong. I don't know if Andy, you want to talk about some of the places that you've worked on in the, from an architectural perspective.
Yeah, Andy on the spot.
Yeah.
Andy, would you mind introducing yourself as well?
Yeah, so I'm Andy Nielsen with Anderson Dale Architects, and really excited to be part of this team. And we've been working with Chris and D4 and Elliot on the Southern Commercial Precinct. But we were the architects for the new library here in Parker. We also did the police headquarters. We did Discovery Park. So we know Parker, but one of our other really exciting projects we've done in the last several years was the wing buildings at Denver Union Station. So there are 2 buildings that are in a landmark district flanking Union Station. If you haven't been down there, they create Wincoop Plaza, which is a great public space, but it was all about weaving new buildings into a very cherished historic fabric of lower downtown and of Union Station, and also making it sort of anchors of a public-private redevelopment of a whole transit facility, and really trying to create a great place for Denver, which in a lot of ways is parallel, but it's maybe a little more densely urban kind of condition, but the same sort of spirit of what you might be thinking of in terms of evolving Parker and Main Street and what a special place that it is for your community too. So that's some of the kind of stuff that we've been doing recently as well.
Thank you. Another quick question from Facebook. So while this is not a formal response to an RFP, it would be helpful to hear maybe your initial impressions of what strikes you as an opportunity or as opportunity sites and projects. We're not going to let you off easy on this one.
Well, I mean, I think that, as we said, what we like is the fact that the approach is a partnership. It's looking at a master plan strategy. It's looking at how each of the sites talks to each other and to the sites adjacent to them. So I think we see initially Site 1 as being an extension, so next to Parker Station, is an immediate opportunity to start to draw Main Street along the ground plane, the retail experience. The Pace Center, obviously, we all know, love, but can be so much more, I think, particularly if the parking is converted into more of retail activity on the ground floor, restaurant row, something of that kind, of just throwing out sort of verbal images. I think parcel 3 then gets driven by the demand studies we do, by the community thinking, and what we, it's an interesting site because it's got narrow frontage but long depth, and it's adjacent to existing residential and the park. So I think we've got to think about that really carefully. Pine Curve becomes the kind of terminus, the exclamation point at the end of Main Street. There's, you could argue, formulaic responses to that, but having spent the last 4.5 years working to unlock a 106,000 square foot big box, which was developed 20 years ago under an urban renewal plan in Denver, so that we can build back 1,500 residential dwellings, condominiums, yes, multifamily, the ground floor retail, and an urban plaza. That's been a 4.5 year labor of love unlocking that project, which 20 years ago was state of the art. So I think what we see is that Parker has attempted to do piecemeal development, has had an aspiration, and has fallen short. We all know that. Side 1, the former hotel side, was obviously unsuccessful in that regard. What we're now saying is that the 4 sides together, the big idea here is the partnership is working together for a period of potentially 6 months post-contract. I just want to say when Kathleen was volunteering free service and work here, it is part of the team, it is part of the proposal. I would like a contract. But what the heck, that's what I love about 501c3s. Why I chair the board, I try to keep them focused on the fact that we do actually have to pay the bills. But seriously, I think that the big idea here is you've approached it in one way. We like that approach because we see that being a kind of holistic development. So then, by the end of the year, everybody, if it all goes well and there's a high level of engagement, these plans, you see these images, these visions translate into real proposals, and then my job and the team is to actually go out and bring them to fruition, which means we've got to raise the capital to do that, we've got to get the occupiers, we've got to build the confidence in underwriting to make that happen. But I'm very confident we can do that. I see parcels 1 and 2 as being those nearer term opportunities, and the others are more complex just because of the nature of what we anticipate the challenges being.
This is a great question. So if we did have the opportunity to hear from other potential developers and compare and contrast your vision and implementation, how would you practically and applicably set yourself apart?
I wish we did have a competition because I like winning. And we didn't assemble the team that we've assembled to impress you on how seriously we do want to win this opportunity. Because I do think it's unique. I think the town is strong, I think the community is engaged, and I think the opportunity is really special. I think what you see here and what we haven't heard, we haven't seen is kind of images of an outcome. What we're saying is it's an approach. I think what we're trying to do is tailor our expertise to get the approach that's right for this community and right for each of these sites. I can't say what others would do. My suspicion is that you would have unrelated development proposals that would produce more typical responses to development. So what that means is Pine Cone would be a large format retail proposal, and the other sites would perhaps be more typical development proposals with very typical materials that you would expect in a typical suburban environment. I think what we're trying to do and what we intend to do is bring a higher quality, a more thoughtful response, and one that ultimately adds longevity. And I will argue and say very, very strongly to everybody, because I think it's in everybody's vested interest, if the last recession taught us anything, it is that a lack of mixed use, diverse development, different price points, different uses adds resiliency. If you think back to what caused property values to plummet, it was that lack of mixed use, that lack of heart in the community, that lack of a reason for being. And what I think, and what's seen me over my career all around the world, I've been fortunate to work, is resiliency comes from that mixed use and from that appropriate density and different price points.
Sorry. Let me just speak as a consultant who works for this developer. I think one of the things that we see when we work together with D4 Urban that makes this development team stand out compared to other clients that we work with is an acceptance of, and in fact, an embrace of the public-private partnership. So one of the projects that was up there was an infrastructure project. It was the pipe, right? The point of that is that this development team looked at an opportunity connected to a physical development site and said, what do the other people involved here need in order to make this happen? It's not just about what we want on our property, but what does the city need, what does RTD need, what is the stormwater infrastructure? So there's a recognition in this development team that the only way you get great projects built that will last a long term is by working together with the community. So I think it's the acceptance of that that engagement in a heartfelt way that makes this team stand out, and that because this is a special kind of invitation where a town has come out and said, we want to partner with someone instead of, here's a site, you guys go, we'll sell it off to you, you do what you want. It takes a special kind of development team, and frankly, it takes a small private developer who has the sort of patience and knowledge of what this community is. So I think that that's what would make this development team stand out if there were a number of other ones that I can think of that would come here. And the other thing I'd like to say is this is a developer that pushes his consultants very hard, so we work extra hard too.
That's great. I think, you talked a little bit about the process. I think maybe there's a potential business owner in the room and who's asking more specifics on, how does it work? So who owns the buildings? Is it the town? Is it D4? Is the land for sale now? Could you just give us a little summary of sort of the logistics of it all? And I'm just going to remind you to really hold the mic close to your face.
Absolutely happy to. So the way that the RFQ has been formulated and presented and how we've responded is that it's in the discretion of the town and the PAR to select the developer, to engage in an exclusive negotiating period, to get into a development agreement with that developer. The terms of that have yet to be defined. And then, and I think this is again something that should give confidence to folks, the town would commission the team and own the work product as the result of the design phase. So the master plan, the site development plans, the community engagement piece, all of that work product would be owned by Town of Parker and the PAR. And that's important because after completing that work, we proposed a 2-year exclusive period to bring that development to fruition. If we achieve that, and I'm confident we will deliver on our commitments, then we ultimately take down the land, buy the land, or whatever the arrangement we ultimately agree. But ultimately, it's a private development with private capital, which would ultimately be owned or sold in the market when it's completed. So that's the kind of raw summary, I guess. To the extent that we are unsuccessful during that 2-year post-master plan, post-design phase and the community engagement piece, which will continue beyond the planning phase, the 6 months after contract. But to the extent we're unsuccessful, we're proposing criteria and categories that would enable us to extend if there were reasons to do that, so that we could complete all 4 sites. But that will ultimately be determined by the criteria of the contract, the performance of our development team. In a worst case scenario, if we do nothing and we sit around and we've essentially wasted 2 years, you'll get it back. The town will, because it won't have disposed of its land. The consultant team is available and the work product is owned by the town. So it can go and work. So it's a true partnership. We don't buy the land, we don't go off and do what we want to do. Our stakeholder is the town of Parker, the PAR, and the community. So we've got to carry that trust for the next 2.5 years. And that's what makes it both exciting and challenging, because we're going to be held to the commitments we made.
Thank you, that's helpful. Any other questions in the room?
So the D4 Urban website is down right now, it's under reconstruction. As part of your group of consultants, will you be putting together a site which will show past projects that you've done, so that people who are on Facebook might have an opportunity to get a better idea of what the group is capable of?
Our site is being rebuilt because after 6.5 years we're going to become an overnight success when we tear down and announce 3 new projects within the next 6 months, of which I've foreshadowed the Kmart site, the bus barn site, which you've seen where we'll be breaking ground and building a car dealership for an owner-occupier. And then you heard Andy describe, we've got a very substantial office development underway, and we're obviously always negotiating with Denver on a bunch of infrastructure. So the reason our site is down is because we needed to update it with all that's happening at the moment. So very happy to tell you, I wish it was ready for tonight. I actually raised the marketing company that we weren't up and running. They said we could do it, but we won't have any content. It looked great, Chris, but there's no content. That'll be rectified by the end of the month. So you'll be able to look at our website. The rest of our team and the consultants, I'm not exactly sure what PAR and the town are going to put on their website after this meeting, but all of our contact details are there. The proposal, the presentation tonight will be out there. I'm getting a nod, so that'll all be available to you. And you can check out the credentials of our team. You asked a question earlier on, what have we done? So we formed D4 Urban in February 1, 2011, so we're 6.5 years old. And in that time, we delivered a pipe, one of the most complicated infrastructure projects I've done in 33 years anywhere in the world, a capital stack and an engineering feat, which I'm pretty proud of. We won a Green Building Council award for that piece of infrastructure, which has benefited 1,900 acres in urban Denver. So I'm very proud of what we did there. Many people didn't think we could do it, and we pulled that off, and as Elliot said, that facilitated the apartment building. First LEED Platinum apartment building. So I like to say the talk. Personally, those are the 2 projects I can show you today in Denver, the D4 Urban's done. Prospectively, we've got the projects I've announced, which I've been hinted at, which you'll see on the web, and which will be closing. Internationally, I could rattle off names and projects, but I can tell you I've done everything from the most valuable office building in Sydney, the first building built after 9/11 in Asia Pacific, anchored by Deutsche Bank and designed by a global star architect, Norman Foster. So I go back 4 times a year to London and work that design, and it's an extraordinary building, and if you Google my name, it'll come up and you'll see that project. But more modestly, I've also done retirement villages. So I was responsible as Chief Operating Officer for the largest retirement village developer. So I went from doing a high-rise office building to working and talking to some fascinating people within the retirement community. So I'm really interested in all forms of real estate, but I think it's the approach you bring to it, how you problem solve, and the people you assemble to kind of create solutions. So that's really what you're buying into here. It isn't just me and D4 Urban, the 6.5-year-old company with the largest single piece of land in Denver consolidated. You're dealing with a group of people that collectively think this is a pretty special place, this is a pretty unique opportunity in a town that actually is approaching it the right way.
And it does sound like the town will make sure to get the websites of all the consultants and the entire team online to make that easy for everybody. Sure.
Is this the first time this team has worked together, or have you just compiled everyone just for this project?
Is this the first time you've all worked together?
No. I've worked with everybody on this team apart from Vanessa and the Kimberly Horn team. Every other member of the team is working for us on another project. Many of them are all working together. There are other people on here tonight, so our project manager, client rep, the Wells Partnership, Les Wells, the principal founder of that business, has done 6 projects for Parker over 10 years. He does all of our project management work. He's working with Anderson Mason Dale with us, as is Elliot. Shears Atkins, who are also one of the architectural firms here, are working with Elliot and ourselves. So what we try to do was thoughtfully put a composition together. But the reason you're seeing here land planner, public engagement strategy and implementation, and then obviously me, because you've got to have a developer at the table, is because this is the front piece. This is the most critical piece. So we've all worked together before, different circumstances, solving different problems, but I think what we bring is kind of an approach that is going to be relevant.
So I'll pull the curtain back and probably talk out of turn and let you see some sausage that was being made, but we are the newest member of the team. My colleague Megan, who's not with us tonight, has a great relationship with Chris. But we were invited as we prepared to submit the RFQ, the request for proposal, to get together as a group and start to just brainstorm and do some sketch work and look at the town, look at the urban form. And I think we could have been there all night. We were there for 3 hours, and some of us had to peel off to go pick up our kids. But what I was surprised is that typically when you get a powerful group in a room like this, there's a lot of egos bouncing around. I didn't see that. There were multiple engineers that were communicating effectively. There were multiple architects. You could really see that the team had worked well together in the past. People were asking ideas that, everything from the CEO to more junior partners in our firm, everyone had an even voice, and I think that was really impressive to me because I know that at Kimberly we work with consultants and developers and folks across Colorado and the U.S., but that was really motivating for me and I think for us to take an even more, forward role in the project. I'm really grateful to be part of this team, and I think this team has been assembled really is passionate about this community. And you can't say that for every project you work on. I mean, you truly can't, and that's probably behind the curtains. But I was really, really impressed by how the group collaborated, was creative, took ideas from each other, and really kind of worked out some different scenarios and thought, we could do this or we could do that. And it was this great sort of brainstorming experience. So from my perspective as kind of an outsider looking in, I was just really impressed personally at the way the team came together, and I can see that extrapolated out to the way they'll welcome the community and the staff into this process.
And I would just add from my perspective, to Elliot's point, Chris makes whoever works with him, alongside of him, work really hard. So it is a process that requires the greatest amount of creativity, a lot of hard work, a lot of passion, and that comes through with everyone that you've tapped as part of this team, and a tremendous amount of leadership from Chris as well.
Thank you. Any final questions, either from the folks watching on Facebook Live or from the people in the room? We still have time, and I want to make sure that everyone has an opportunity to connect with this group. I see no takers. With that, I think I'm going to turn it back over to Jason for closing.
Okay. Wait,
Wait, we have one last question. We didn't let them type fast enough.
And it's a really long one, so I'm just.
And it just come stand next to me for a moment. It does sound like we have one more question. Again, if you are still watching on Facebook Live, I didn't mean to rush you. There's still time to submit your questions. And if you do think of any others as you're sitting here in the audience, we do want to make sure that we have an opportunity to talk to everybody. And look at this is real time. I'm getting the electronic version. Oh, now you're making me look old. So do you envision creating more opportunities for public transportation or possibly connecting Parker to the light rail station at Lincoln with more ease? See more. This person just mentioned they've had employees in the past that have had issues with working late hours and not being able to get either an Uber, a taxi, or a bus home to other parts of Denver. So what are your initial thoughts around transit and light rail in particular?
That's a really good question, and it's probably a question that's above the scope of our role in this project. And one of the things that we always talked about was we're typically a TOD urban developer. And this is not a TOD site, transit-oriented development, which is kind of low at the moment. The light rail network is what people think about. But I think the fact that Parker is going to be connected with direct bus service, stronger service from RTD, from Main Street to Lincoln Station and to 9 Mile Station is what is on the books and what is planned at the moment with RTD. The town of Parker, I think, has been a great member of the RTD district, has been consistent in that commitment. It's challenging time because you don't have a light rail link, and that undoubtedly would be an advantage, and I'm not going to deny that. But I don't think that diminishes the opportunity and why we saw this opportunity, this approach as being part of it. I don't think, I mean, implicit in the question, I think, is that there would be large employment, office employment within the project. And I'm not sure that that's what there will be in terms of the density of office employment. But as far as can we with this project be a catalyst for a different transportation solution, I don't know. That'll come out of the engagement piece, that'll come out of our partnership with the city, with the town, I'm sorry, and then how we choose to use that in our discussions, I guess, with RTD. But at the moment, the remit that we have in the RFQ is to how to think about the town centre. We think about it from a transit and accessibility point of view, but I'm not sure to that question from Facebook that I can give you an answer that's going to sort of solve the regional issues of connectivity, other than what I've said. Kathleen, do you want to?
The one thing that I would add is, this is something that becomes more and more a reality when you create these great places, which you already have much of the piece in place, right? So as downtown continues to evolve, that it creates this opportunity. I think the danger always when people think about something like transit or something about like light rail or commuter rail is that they think that instantly makes a place. Well, I'm here to tell you transit does not a great place make. It is all of the other pieces, but it becomes something that you can explore more and more when you have the other things that make it possible. Like if you're thinking about things like either train or bus, they need good, walkable, safe environments. They need those connections. And that's the type of work that I think this project then lends itself really with these series of projects and this process really lends itself to. Because that, what I would call sort of that supportive infrastructure, that piece becomes really important to starting to think about what some other solutions would be.
I would just add that because of the 4 sites, and we've talked about a master plan component to the beginning, the 6 months piece at the beginning. It's building on a Main Street master plan you already have. We've studied the diagrams and the ideas about circulation and transportation and shuttles and so forth, and have lots of ideas about how we would reinforce the thinking that's already in place and how through this project and this process, absolutely we will hear from you and engage in that conversation about these bigger regional topics. It's why I talked about the idea of systems thinking and analysis, and we tossed up the beginnings of diagrams, but absolutely we'll be thinking about how these 4 sites connect to greater systems and how we can reinforce that. And one of the great things about the public outreach process is that we will hear things, and we'll engage with it, and we will help plug it into the places where maybe those changes can get made.
So with that, I'd like to say thank you once again for coming out tonight, as far as our residents in the audience, but also on Facebook Live. I think your time tonight has been invaluable for us as staff, but also for the potential Master Developer team and partner for the town, and just being able to understand just some of the initial thoughts, concerns, issues, questions that you all may have as we go through this process. And this will obviously be a very iterative process as we go forward with this determination process. Just want to be able to share for those in the crowd, but also for those on Facebook Live, that the presentation will be posted to our website as with other information so that you can have it at your fingertips, so that you can pass it along to your friends, to your families, and other loved ones. But also know that we are still willing to take questions even after the fact, after this presentation, so that we can continue to keep putting facts out there for you, be able to address your questions. And once again, be able to let you know where we stand as a process and where we go forward. So with that, thank you once again, and have a good night.